Most, if not all of us, have secrets. It's part of the human experience. In most cases, our secrets can be shameful or embarrassing, but sometimes people keep incredibly dark secrets and hold on to them for their entire lives. Then, just as they are about to leave their mortal coil, they decided to share their deepest, darkest secrets. These are 5 of the most haunting deathbed confessions. Hannah Quick. On February 7, 1980, a fire broke out at a 3-story townhouse in Brooklyn. The fire ended up killing 27-year-old Elizabeth Kinsey and her 5 children, who ranged in age from 9 years old to 9 months old. The fire marshal determined that, based on the burn patterns, an accelerant was used, even though no trace of an accelerant was found. He based his theory on the fact that the patterns indicated that there were 2 fires started in one room. The police interviewed other people in the townhouse and the landlord said she saw 3 men enter before the fire started and then leave right afterwards. This led to 25-year-old Raymond Mara, 30-year-old Amaury Villalobos, and 34-year-old William Vasquez being arrested the day of the fire. They were convicted in 1981 and given life sentences. Mora died in 1989 in prison at the age of 44. Villalobos and Vasquez were paroled in 2012. In 2011, the New York District Attorney's Office set up the Conviction Review Unit, which looks at problematic convictions. In April 1995, they started to look into the arson and after 10 months of research they concluded the men were innocent. First off, what experts know about house fires has changed since the early 1980s. Notably, they are now aware of a phenomenon called a flashover. It happens when a room gets so hot that fires sporadically start in the room. This makes it look like someone poured accelerant around the room and lit multiple fires. The second problem was Hannah Quick. Quick was a drug dealer and the townhouse was called a shooting gallery, which is a place that rents out rooms so people can do drugs in them. Quick's family also said she was a chronic liar who abused drugs and alcohol. She died in 2014. A lawyer with the Conviction Review Unit got in contact with Quick's daughter and she said that her mother confessed on her deathbed that she lied about seeing the men at the townhouse. Her mother said that they were completely innocent. All 3 men were exonerated in December 2015. For spending 32 years in prison, the city of New York agreed to pay Villalobos and Vasquez $15 million each. Mora's family has also filed a suit, but it has yet to be settled. Russell Smerecker. In 1975, Michael Mansfield was 20 years old and a student at Lincoln College in Lincoln, Illinois. He was a good student, but in the fall he had been arrested for possession of stolen goods. The district attorney made a deal with him that they would drop the charges if he testified that a fellow student, 21-year-old Russell Smerecker, gave him the stolen goods. Mansfield decided to take the deal. For Christmas holiday, he went back to his parents' home in Rolling Meadows, Illinois. On New Year's Eve, he walked out the door and disappeared. On June 2, 1976, the co-workers of 51-year-old Ruth Martin, who lived in Lincoln, became worried when she didn't come into work. They got in contact with her husband, who left work and went directly home. In the garage, he found a .22 caliber bullet and a blood stain. But Ruth Martin was nowhere to be found. 2 days later, her car was found abandoned in Bloomington, Illinois. The police found more blood in the trunk. On October 9, 1976, a call came into the 911 dispatch in Lincoln because shots were fired in a quiet neighborhood. The police went to the home of Jay and Robin Fry, who were both 25 years old. They had been gunned down with a shotgun. Sadly, Robin was 3 months pregnant with their first child. At the time, the police had no idea that the 2 disappearances and the double murder were connected. Then they started to look into what possible motive someone could have to kill Ruth Martin and the Frys. They soon saw a connection. Jay Fry and Ruth Martin were going to testify against Smerecker for stealing. Jay worked at a grocery store and chased Smerecker down in the parking lot after he stole an item. While he ran through the parking lot, Smerecker threw the stolen item under Martin's car. The stolen item was a package containing 2 steaks valued at a total of $4. Robin Fry was only killed because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. They also found out that Michael Mansfield had disappeared before he had a chance to testify against Smerecker. The stolen goods that he was going to testify about were a guitar and some records. Smreker was arrested and convicted of the murders of the Fries. He was given 2 sentences of 100 to 300 years in prison. Every so often, investigators visited Smreker and asked him what happened to Michael Mansfield and Ruth Martin. He said he knew nothing about their disappearances and it's just a coincidence that they went missing. In October 2011, Smreker was 56 years old and dying. That is when he finally admitted to killing both Michael Mansfield and Ruth Martin. He didn't say where Mansfield's body was, but he said that he buried Martin's body under a highway that was under construction. Sadly, despite the confession, her body, like Mansfield's, has never been found. Smreker died on October 26, not long after confessing. Larry Sherrod. In February 2014, a woman named Pam Reinhardt went to the police station in Elizabethtown, Kentucky with a disturbing story. She said that for the past 8 months, she had been taking care of her ailing uncle, Larry Sherrod. As he was nearing the end of his life, Sherrod said to Reinhardt, "I don't want to go to hell." He then proceeded to tell her that, in the 1980s, he shot a man in the head, wrapped him up in a carpet and then dumped the body in a cave. But that wasn't all. He said that in the 1990s, he shot another man. This one he buried. Sherrod didn't say who his victims were, but he did say that they were both killed because they cheated him in a drug deal. The same afternoon that Sherrod went into a coma, he died. The police looked into their cold cases and found a case that was similar to the first murder that Sherrod described. In July 1989, spelunkers found a body at the bottom of a cave with a bullet hole in his skull. He was identified as Thomas Jones Jr. The police went to the area where Sherrod said the second body was buried. They found bone fragments and pieces of clothing. That victim has never been identified. Christine Kett. On the evening of January 11, 1867, a teenage boy found the bloody body of his 18-year-old sister, Christine Kett, in their Dayton, Ohio home. He went and got the neighbors and the police were notified. Christine's body was in the kitchen doorway that led to the cellar. Her lower body was in the kitchen and her upper body was at the top of the stairway. Her head had sustained several blows with a sharp object, like a hatchet or an axe. There was also a pistol found near her body and Christine had gunpowder on her finger and face, but it didn't appear that a bullet had been fired. A short time later, Christine's mother, who was also named Christine, came home and found a group of people in front of her house. She became hysterical when she was informed her daughter died. Over the years, Mrs. Kett accused many people of murdering her daughter and the police arrested several men. One suspect was Christine's brother since he found the body and it was his gun found near her. However, no one could be tied to the crime scene so no one was ever formally charged. The police finally concluded that Christine accidentally shot herself after she tripped while carrying the pistol. 17 years after the murder, Mrs. Kett was bedridden with inflamed bowels and she was nearing death. She had her son come to her bedside, and she told him that she had killed Christine. On the day that she died, Christine was supposed to come home at noon to make dinner. She was a few hours late, and Mrs. Kett snapped. She grabbed an axe and as Christine ran towards the cellar, Mrs. Kett struck her in the head. Mrs. Kett then grabbed the gun and the flask with the gunpowder. She smeared the powder on Christine's fingers and her cheek and planted the gun. She then went out to the market and returned after she knew her son would find the body. Mrs. Kett asked her son to keep it a secret until he was on his deathbed, and he agreed. Mrs. Kett died hours later after suffering a stroke. Her son didn't wait until his deathbed to reveal her secret. Instead, he told a reporter the story shortly after his mother passed away. Geraldine Kelly. Geraldine and John Kelly met as children in Somerville, Massachusetts. As young adults, they married and Geraldine gave birth to a daughter in 1970. The following year, she gave birth to a son. In 1981, Geraldine and John were attending a wedding. John drank too much and got into a fight with 3 other guests. The fight resulted in the death of John's brother-in-law. Fearing he might be charged with the death, John packed up his family and they moved out west. The family ended up in Ventura, California, where John and Geraldine landed jobs at a motel. John continued to drink and the couple would fight. Their kids moved out in 1989, and became estranged from their parents. In early 1992, Geraldine called her kids and told them John was dead. He had been struck by a car while he was out town. She also relayed a similar story to the owner of the motel. Geraldine continued to work there for another 6 years, until she moved back to Somerville in 1998. In November of that year, Geraldine was on her deathbed, stricken with breast cancer. Her daughter came to see her and Geraldine said that she had killed John in late 1991. She said he was abusive, so she shot him. She then said that his body was in a freezer in a storage locker. And it wasn't a storage locker in California, it was one in Somerville. When she moved across the country, she had the freezer with the dead body of her husband inside of it shipped across the country with her. After Geraldine died, her daughter went to the police and they found the skeletal remains in the freezer. John had been shot once in the back of the head. The police also found the murder weapon among Geraldine's possessions.